Welcome back, you guys. I'm Carolina, and this is the SP Mamas podcast. Today, my lovely guest is Meg or Meggie or...
Either one.
Okay.
Just not Megan.
Okay, cool. Meg, and she's got 2 kiddos, been a member of Street Parking, and I think she has an awesome story to tell, and I'm super excited to have you on the podcast today.
I'm super excited to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, absolutely. So why don't you start off by telling me or us a little bit about like how long you've been a Street Parking member, how you found it, who your kiddos are.
So I've been wanting to tell Miranda this story, but I have like no reason to tell her this story. So now I do.
Perfect.
So she was at the OC Throwdown a long time ago, probably, I don't know. It's when her hair was really super short and cute.
Uh-huh.
And she was competing. And so she was like 5 feet from me. And I told her that she had the best toaster bar I'd ever seen in my life. And she was so humble and so sweet. And she just was, she was the biggest badass there.
Mm-hmm.
And she acted like it was her first day. She was so humble and so sweet.
Yeah.
So from then, I was always interested in what she was doing, and I followed her through the games, and then I stalked her on Instagram,
Mm-hmm.
and then, it turned into that she was doing this street parking, and it probably took me, I don't know, maybe a year of street parking being around, and then I just finally said, okay, I'm gonna do this,
Mm-hmm.
and there we go. So
Yeah.
I love it. I do it all the time. I don't do it as much currently because I'm postpartum, but as throughout my first pregnancy, I did it, and then up until now.
Cool. Okay, so tell me, who are your kiddos?
Okay, so I have a 3-year-old son, and he is the sweetest, loudest child you've ever met.
Okay.
He's currently not here right now. Otherwise, I would have you guys meet him, but he's not here.
Uh-huh.
And then I have Haley, who she is 3 months, almost 3 months. She'll be 3 months in like a week.
Yeah. When was she born? Because she was right around the same time as Callie.
Yeah, I think she's like a week younger than Callie. She was born October 15th.
Okay, cool. Yeah, almost exactly a week. Whew,
Yeah.
okay. And I think, I'm not totally sure, but I feel like I've heard you talk about work just a little bit. Can you tell us a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, I work as a deputy for Orange County.
Awesome.
So I'm not like the capacity that a lot of people think. Like, I don't go to the people's houses and answer phone calls and stuff like that. I'm actually at the courthouse. So I have, I work at the jail in our courthouse, which I actually love, but I am a deputy, yeah.
Okay, cool. And so then how much longer, are you going back to work pretty soon?
Yeah, I'm going back to work in about a month.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So I know a little bit about your story, just because, we've become friends through Facebook and Instagram, but
I know, my real internet friend.
I know, but like, it's so true, I'm in my home alone with Callie, and like, my internet friends are the people that I like talk to the most.
Yeah, that's something that happens when you're a mom. I think it's really, I might be getting ahead of ourselves here, but that's what happens when you're a mom. You don't really have time to go to Starbucks and meet up, but you do have time to text funny things back and forth. And it is so essential that sometimes I have a group of mom friends that I also text, and I think, if I didn't have that text, who would I tell this to? Nobody would care.
Yeah, totally. Exactly. Okay, so where do you want to start?
Well, I think that the reason that we're here is because I am a C-section mama.
Yeah.
I'm a 2-time C-section mama.
Yep.
So I'll start with that.
Yeah.
First, I was pregnant with Logan, and the pregnancy was pretty, it was healthy pregnancy, but he had to be checked on every week because he was growing disproportionately. So, in the age of a lot of information, it's really nerve-wracking, actually, to know so much about your baby.
Oh, my gosh.
Sometimes when my mom has told me this a bunch of times, that she didn't know anything except for I am pregnant and this is when the baby's due.
Yeah.
That's it, you know? And then you just cross your fingers, cross your toes, hope for the best, whatever.
Yeah.
Well, that's got its own stress, but going every week and trying to check his spine and check all this stuff, it's really nerve-wracking.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't realize how much that actually stressed me out until kind of afterwards, and I kind of, digested it, I guess.
Yeah.
So we get to the birth, and I went into labor at like 7 or 8 at night after I had scrubbed the shower. So I scrub my shower, I go straight into labor, and my contractions.
You scrubbed the shower just because you were looking for something to do?
No, I just had this like overwhelming feeling that like I need to clean my shower. So I started, I was like, going aggro on my shower.
Yeah.
And I get out and I have this really super long contraction. And I thought, I think I may have done it. So maybe an hour later, my contractions were 3 minutes apart, but I could still talk. And I didn't know better. So I'm like, everybody says 3 minutes apart, let's go. So I go to the hospital and they're like, oh, you're so cute. Go home. And so I went home. I labored all night long. I came back. They told me the only advice they gave me was, when it changes, come back. I'm like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
And she goes, you don't know.
Oh my gosh.
So by the time it was like 7 or 8 in the morning, and this is like almost 12 hours of labor already, I get back and she's like, okay, welcome back. You're 4 centimeters dilated. Well, I have a sensitivity to lidocaine, and I had to tell them about this. And so I wasn't actually going to have an epidural. I was trying to go, I was trying to be the champion and just go do it. 11 o'clock rolls around. I've been in labor for, a million years at this point already. And I asked for an epidural, but because of the lidocaine sensitivity, the anesthesiologist had to go research what to give me so that it wasn't an interaction. And that took, I want to say that took like 2 more hours. So by the time I asked for epidural, by the time I got it, it was like 2 more hours.
Yeah.
I was laboring. And I had, no offense to my Canadian friends, but I had a Canadian nurse who was just all business. And she came in and she was just like, this is how we're doing it, And so we got to about 9 o'clock. She's like, do you feel like pushing? And I said, I don't know. At this point, I'm numb from, like here down. Yeah. So sure. Like, okay, let's try.
You tell me.
Yeah, exactly. You can see, I can't. You tell me, right? So I start pushing. I pushed for 3 hours. And by the time it was, I think we were like approaching 3 hours, the lady who was helping us, my nurse, said, I'm going to go get the MD because this is basically not going well. And I was passing out in between my contractions. They had to wake me up in between and say, hey, okay, it's time to push again.
Wow.
And I just said, I looked at my husband and the MD came in and said, I'm going to give you 15 more minutes. If you don't basically progress anymore in 15 minutes, I'm going to take you and we're going to go C-section.
Yeah.
Can you go for 15 more minutes? And so I told my husband, I looked at my husband, I said, I can't do it.
Yeah.
We got to go. I just called it.
Was it like exhaustion?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I don't remember a lot of the day, to tell you the truth. I do remember that the epidural made me sick. And I remember a couple people coming to visit here and there and check on me and stuff. But the whole day's blurry. And then I do remember distinctly telling my husband that I can't do it anymore. Right. We got to go. Okay. So we went to emergency C-section because I had been in labor for such a long time and pushing for such a long time. My poor little peanut was stuck, and it took everybody. And it seems like an exaggeration, but I think there were 10 people with their hands in all various orifices. Yeah. And he wouldn't come out. Oh my gosh. So they had to call in, I don't know, I guess they called in some big burly male doctor and said, pull him out. So they tried the vacuum, they tried the forceps, they tried, like I said, hands in all different awful places. And finally, they got him out. So he comes out.
My gosh.
And he won't breathe. And so now my husband saw him go around the drape it just was the angle. It was just perfect. And he was over, not breathing. They called a code for him. They called the code for me.
Oh my God.
And next thing I know, he did cry. Finally, after about 5 minutes, he cried and he was good. But they whisked him away to the NICU, and then they whisked me away to recovery. And I told my husband, "Don't let him out of your sight," because he didn't have any tags. Nobody asked me his name. Like, they just whisked,
Make sure we get him back.
Yeah, just don't take your eyes off of him. I made that from scratch. So he finally, everything calmed down. We were in the hospital for 5 days.
Oh my gosh.
And it was really hard. It was really a difficult pregnancy. And afterwards, it was not at all what I had planned. So it was a lot to process after that.
Mm-hmm.
And it took me months. It really did. I think I had postpartum anxiety and postpartum depression, a little bit of both.
Yeah.
But thankfully, I was able to stay home for a year afterwards.
Wow.
And heal up, be at home, take care of myself, take care of my son, and, get taken care of by my husband.
So tell me a little bit about that in terms of like processing that. Would you say, where did you start? Was it physically? Was it emotionally? Or how did you work through that?
I definitely started with the physical aspect of it. We, in California, I know you lived in California for a long time. The sunshine is your friend, and it's there a lot for you. So I think it might sound hippy-dippy, but I leaned on that sunshine a lot. Went outside, took walks, sat on the patio, and soaked up the time with the baby, soaked up the sunshine, and just was grateful for the beautiful place we live. And then I would go for walks, and then I would incorporate some body weight movement. And then I found street parking in January. I think it was the January after. So about 6 months after I had him, we started that. And then it just went from there with that part. But the emotional part shows up in really weird places, honestly. And it sometimes still shows up because I get heart palpitations when he coughs or when I think he's going to be sick. And it's better. It's much better, but it was horrible. Yeah. And it's still, sometimes I get that.
Yeah. Something
so
I've
I
noticed.
guess it's a work in progress.
Yeah. I've noticed about some of the things that you've commented on my posts or other moms' posts is that you seem to be able to handle things with this, like, a lot of patience, I think.
Oh my gosh. I don't know where it comes from.
I mean, but like, even just hearing you talk about, you didn't really get into working out, I guess, like with street parking until about 6 months after. Like, I think a lot of moms like would freak out at that point, like a lot of moms are trying to get back into it a couple weeks later. And even with C-sections, they're waiting for that 6 week all clear and then going for it. What was it, something that you had that you just intuitively were listening to, or had you educated yourself somehow in terms of like what you needed and how to recover and time and all of that? Where does this come from?
As far as like the comments and stuff, I think we have a lot of pressure to get back, And to me, getting back is just silly. It just seems so silly to me because I will never be who I was before I had Logan. I just won't. And that's okay because I like this mommy better. I like who I am now better. My body did the most amazing thing and I healed from that, which I don't know. I just think that I just have more of an appreciation for my body, so I allowed it to be new and different. And I try to keep that in mind. It's difficult. I mean, I have to put my jeans on just like somebody else. And when I put them on for the first couple weeks, I'd rather cover up the mirror. Everybody would, but I give myself a little bit of grace and just know that it's a short temporary time in your life. It's really, really short. And it feels like forever. People constantly are saying, oh, I can't, like you said, 6 weeks is such a long time. No, it goes by like this.
Yeah.
It goes by so fast. And if you're constantly worried about, oh, those jeans don't fit, or oh, I look terrible, or these bags under my eyes, or you know, if you're looking at those things all the time, you're gonna miss those beautiful moments that you are nursing, or that your baby smiled at you, or you're gonna miss small moments of joy.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Yeah, it feels like, when you are told like, oh, well, you can't do any high impact whatever, or you can't run, or you can't do this for however many weeks or months it might be, that seems like forever. And I understand that those things are probably a source of like stress relief for a lot of people. But
I agree with that.
I think that, it's important we got to dig a little deeper and find some other tools, like we can go back to that. But we can't rely on those things, because what happens when they're not an option? Like, when you're recovering from birth.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was a runner in college, and beyond that, I've always been an active person. But another thing that helps me in those times when people tell you you're not supposed to be doing these high impact things, and I understand that, is that I was a really crappy runner before I was a good runner. So, it took a long time. I didn't make this baby in one night.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't make this baby in 6 weeks. So how can I realistically expect myself to be top-notch athlete in 6 weeks?
Totally.
It's unrealistic.
It's not even 6 weeks. You have to consider like the entire 9-10 months before that, when realistically you were not training at that level. So it's actually been like a lot longer. So yeah. Okay, so then Haley.
Mm-hmm. So then I was actually, before I got pregnant with Haley, I was doing street parking probably 5 days a week. My nutrition was super awesome, and I looked more athletic than I had in a really long time. Mm-hmm. It was like everything was coming together, template life and all of it. And when I got pregnant, the universe thought it was really funny to make it so that I couldn't eat a single thing without throwing up. Ugh. I kid you not. I said this, and somebody probably will say, oh, she said this before on the Mama's Group. I ate 6 Cheerios and Orange Mango Body Armor hydration drink, like exclusively. That's like what I ate for the first trimester. It was terrible. I lost a bunch of weight. I was sick. I went to the hospital twice.
Oh my gosh.
And with just like dehydration.
Yeah.
And then I turned that 16-week corner, and I was able to move a little bit better. Mm-hmm. And I was able to eat a little bit more and drink and sleep and, just take care of myself a little bit better. Mm-hmm. But I'll tell you that chasing a toddler while you're pregnant, it's no joke.
I don't know how you do it.
It's because it's like what Miranda said. It's more than nothing. Yeah. You just have to realize that I did not sit on my butt all day today and eat bonbons and watch movies.
Right.
I went to work, or I picked up my house, or I did 4 loads of laundry, or I just kept my tiny human alive. That's what you have to be thankful for.
Yeah.
Hold on just a moment, because I think we're going to have to get baby.
Okay, no problem. Yeah.
Gotta go. Come here.
Hi, baby. Oh, she can't hear me.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. Let me hook her up. Hold on.
Hook her up, you guys. Yeah, that's the real deal.
That's all they want anyway.
I know.
Life is better with a full belly, let me tell you. Okay.
Okay.
All right, so we're back.
Yay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So anyway, I don't know what we were talking about. What were we talking about?
You turned the corner at 16 weeks with Haley, and you could finally start to move and eat a little more normally.
Yeah, and that was, it's just a wake-up call that, you know, I'm 30, how old am I? 34, and it is, this is for 22-year-old people, I get it, but, you know, the more we are, hold on.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. We got to make adjustments. It's so crazy how I hear her cry and I have a physical reaction, you know, where
I was going to say,
I'm like, oh my God.
Oh, it's so real.
Where's my baby?
It's so real. Yeah.
Yeah.
Goodness sake.
It's okay. It's okay.
She has.
Oh, Haley.
Oh, okay.
Take your time, Meg. Don't worry. No rush.
All right. She has a tiny little mouth, and so she is not a very good laugher.
Mm.
Yeah, she gets it, but she's not very good at it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Sometimes I feel like it takes a little bit. It takes a minute.
Sometimes when they get too upset, too, it's like too far gone.
I know, totally. Yeah, it's like, okay, breathe, calm down. Seriously, Meg, take all the time you need. No rush at all.
She's okay. She's getting it. Okay, girlfriend, don't worry.
I was trying to make doctor's appointments today. We got new insurance and trying to make those calls, and I had Callie, and like the same thing was happening, and like the person on the other end just really did not understand what was going on or why there was so much noise. I'm like, please hold, but I can't hang up with you because I'll never get through to you guys again.
I really need to talk to you. Yeah,
exactly.
I know. Yeah. Okay, I think we should be grooving for a little bit.
Okay.
I think we're okay.
Okay, cool.
So anyway,
yeah,
it's I'm 34, and this pregnancy was very different than the first one, only because with Logan I could move all the time. I did the stairs, I did low impact and not as intense as I used to, but I was moving almost every day with Logan intentionally. And when I was pregnant with Haley, it wasn't as intentional. It was more like what I was saying, that, okay, I did some laundry today, or I walked around the block today, or, something like that. Took Logan to the park, things like that.
Yeah. 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 And do you feel like that was just because of where you were at, energy levels, having to take care of Logan, or were you feeling physically different in this pregnancy? Like, was there more discomfort or other symptoms that you noticed in this pregnancy that really took a toll on you?
So I think I was more fatigued this time. But I think the biggest thing was that I knew it's just temporary. And if I take 9 months off, 10 months off, whatever it takes, at this point it's been almost a year, me getting back into it when she's about 3 months old. It's okay. I'm going to come back and I'm going to have support of people like you and the Mama's group and my husband. And it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
And so I kind of just let it go.
Yeah.
Honestly, I just kind of let it go.
Oh my gosh. I love that so much. I think, I have to keep reminding myself that you're not going to lose your fitness, Sure,
Mm-mm.
things are going to change and it'll feel like you'll be winded and tired and soft and all of that, but you're not going to lose your fitness. It's temporary,
Mm-mm.
it's a season. And what if, you could just remove this extra stress of the pressure, to do and keep up and
Yeah.
it's a constant grating on,
Yeah.
I think on your nervous system, really, to
Oh,
feel
I
like you need
completely
to
agree.
be doing this all the time.
Yeah, and you gotta really listen to your body. I think you gotta, and it's it's easier for me to do that because I've been doing fitness, I guess, for lack of a better way to put it,
Mm-hmm.
for a really long time. So I feel confident that I can listen to my body and know when I've kind of taken it too far or when I need to move a little bit more here or there, And I think that just comes with practice, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I would say.
Totally. Yeah, I totally agree. I used to say, I was about to say, I used to say when I was super fit, I'm still fit. I am.
Yes, you are. Of course you are.
But I guess maybe before I got pregnant,
Yes.
I would there was this instinct inside of me to not get super attached to looking a certain way, like when I was lean or when I was more toned or if I was, excelling in fitness or whatever.
Yeah.
I would still have this part of me that was like, cool, don't get super attached to that because it comes and it goes. Everything comes and it goes. And especially for women, I think that even within the course of 1 month,
Yeah.
the fluctuations that we have in our own weight, in our energy levels, in the way that we retain water, all of that, it fluctuates so much. So if we're constantly trying to attach ourselves to this, whatever, some kind of ideal, then we're just going to be frustrated.
I completely agree with you. I think that my body, I know that my body has changed a ton in the course of, I would say, 6 years. And I say that because about 6 years ago is when I started to CrossFit, really CrossFit at a CrossFit gym.
Mm-hmm.
And I was single at the time. I didn't have my husband. I didn't have children.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to the gym 2 times a day. I mean, who does that? But of course I did because I had time.
Yeah.
And so I did. And I had muscles on muscles on muscles.
Mm-hmm.
And I even had my mom would be like, what are you doing? Why? What is going on here?
Yeah.
Let's see if I can swaddle her up. Hold on just a second.
Yeah. I'm currently in the process of, I don't know, trying to transition Callie from full swaddle to 1 arm, 2 arms out. I'm trying a little bit of everything. I don't know. We're figuring it out.
All right. Sorry about that. So
That's okay.
this is a very good point with mothers is that like, if you have something that needs to be done right now, you better stand by
Yeah,
because your kid has different plans.
totally. I know. Oh man. Yeah.
I was saying that I CrossFitted for a really long time and I was just ripped, just stupid. And it was because I had time and I was not doing really anything else. So I focused on that. And then I changed assignments at work. And there was these beautiful running trails near where I work. And so I stopped CrossFitting a little bit less and I started running a little bit more and my body changed.
Mm-hmm.
And I leaned out and my legs looked different. And then I got pregnant and everything changed.
Mm-hmm.
Everything changed. And then my postpartum journey after Logan, I dabbled in street parking and my body changed again. And then I had my daughter and I was pregnant with her and my body looked different when I was pregnant with Haley than it did when I was pregnant with Logan.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty set in my ways about what I eat. Not that I eat this crazy stuff. I just eat very similarly with both pregnancies, but still very different.
Mm-hmm.
And even now, if I look at pictures of me postpartum with Logan and postpartum with Haley, it's different.
Yeah.
So I think just having some appreciation that your body can change a bunch, but you still feel like you.
Yeah.
I think that's important.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so Haley, you're cruising, starting to feel better. Were you planning for a specific type of birth for Haley?
Yeah, one where I didn't have to call for a code and as less stress as I could get.
Okay.
So I went in at the time when it was time to talk about this stuff, and I talked to my doctor, and she said, "You know what, Meg, the safest thing for you is probably going to be a repeat C-section."
Mm-hmm.
She said, "You can try for a VBAC. That's up to you. We are totally here for it if that's what you want to do. But in my medical opinion, the safest thing would be to have a C-section." And so I did. I hemmed and hawed over it a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought, I think it was kind of because my birth experience with Logan was not that good.
Yeah.
And so I really wanted to almost make up for it, which is silly because that's unrealistic expectations on yourself.
Yeah.
I know that now. But after a couple weeks, I decided we're just going to go in to have a C-section. We're going to just plan for it. And she's going to be born on this day, and then that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And so we did.
Yeah.
My sister is in medicine.
Mm-hmm.
So I talked to her a lot about it. And her logic is, and it made me feel a lot better, is would you go in with a broken arm and would you tell the person who was going to fix your broken arm, "I don't want pain medication"? No. Would you really? I mean, maybe some people would,
Mm-hmm.
but would you ask somebody to set your arm with no medication? Probably not.
Yeah, probably not.
Would you go in and with a medical emergency and would you say, "I don't want any Western medicine"?
Mm-hmm.
Probably not.
Right.
So that's what made me feel a lot better about it, is that we make these technological advances and we have these things that can keep us safe. And obviously a natural birth is a beautiful, but so is a C-section.
Yeah.
Having a beautiful baby this side and everybody's healthy, that's the goal.
Yeah.
So I stopped beating myself up about that it was scheduled and that, oh, people are going to think I'm vain. And no, people don't care.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, I have.
People don't care.
Oh, geez, never once had that. Thought. Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's true. I mean, people, you tell somebody like not complete strangers, but people that you know, and they're like, "Oh, when are you due?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm having her on the 15th because we're having a C-section." And they're like, "You're having a C-section?
Yeah.
You want to have a C-section?" I'm like, no, nobody wants to get themselves cut open.
Right.
I don't think. But I do want a healthy baby. And I do want to do it as safely as possible.
Yeah, and I have heard of people that do want to have a C-section. Like they're like, "Yep,
More power to
schedule
you.
it, make it happen. I know how this goes. Let's do it."
Yeah.
Yeah, and I agree. I feel like it's funny. I don't know. I think when I was pregnant, someone said like, "Well, what if we just stopped using or changed the language around birth from this is a natural birth to this is C-section or whatever?" And it's like, what if they're all
Mm-hmm.
natural? What if one is
Yeah.
medicated or unmedicated, vaginal or cesarean? And it's hard. I hear it so much in the language that we use.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it starts to like divide and categorize,
Oh, definitely.
and that is kind of like the last thing that we need to do at this stage or at this point, is to
Yeah.
feel separate from. I think, if this idea of like, we've got Western medicine and we should use it and take advantage of it. And I think that absolutely, if there is any type of risk involved in your birth, or if
Mm-hmm.
for you, the amount of like stress involved in any kind of pressure to have an unmedicated or a vaginal birth, like that, there's an unhealthy level of stress that can come from that. And
Yeah. Oh,
if
absolutely.
that's happening, then you have other options and you have the tools of Western medicine. I think that
Yeah.
the problem is when it's like, if there are no risks, or if you don't realize that there are other options, or if you just don't know how it works, or what's going to happen, what it's going to look
Mm-hmm.
like, that's when it becomes, I don't know. There's like, all of a sudden you feel like this thing that was supposed to be natural and normal and that everyone does. Now all of a sudden you're like, well, wait a second. Why didn't it go that way for me? I pushed
Yeah.
for a long time, and a part of me is
Yeah.
like, well, did I do it wrong? Like
Absolutely.
when I hear about women that are like, oh, I did 3 pushes or something, and I think it was because of my fitness that I didn't have to push for very long. And I'm like, well, am I less fit because I had to push for a very long time? No. I just had different circumstances. My little girl
Yeah.
got stuck. That's it.
Yeah. I the judgment that is currently surrounds the topic of birth
Mm.
is horrible. I really wish that we all could stop it. And I wouldn't say that I'm completely innocent of it, because before I had my C-section, I probably thought the same thing. I mean, going into having my birth with Logan, I didn't want to have a C-section. But why?
Mm-hmm.
Because I thought truly that I was less. Am I really less of a woman because I can't vaginally birth this baby?
Mm-hmm.
No, that's ridiculous. And I, that was probably, without having a C-section, I would have probably died. I, I couldn't get him out.
Yeah.
So what would we have done?
Yeah.
Something would have had to sacrifice there,
Yeah.
and that's okay. That I think I chose well. Obviously, we're all safe and everything's good. And that's just like you said, it's just the circumstances and the hands that I was dealt.
Mm-hmm.
I have a good friend who I don't know if all of her stories are true, but she's one of those people who would say the same thing, like, oh, I pushed for 2 minutes. Like,
Oh.
congratulations.
Yeah. It happens. It happens. Good for you. I'm so happy for
Exactly.
you.
I'm really glad for you. That's awesome. I'm like, you're lucky, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think
But
it was you.
It's okay.
I think it was you that at some point, maybe, I don't know, maybe it was like right after Callie was born. I think maybe you said something about like no one's coming around to give out a trophy or something like that for.
No, I say this all the time. I say,
Yeah.
we all get the same trophy.
Right.
I don't care how you got there.
Yeah.
Okay. You don't get points for how you did it, but you get to take the most adorable trophy home.
Yeah.
No matter how you did it.
Yeah.
I don't care how you played the game. Everybody gets the exact same trophy at the end.
Yeah. I didn't even think when I was in labor, the thought did not occur to me like, oh no, you need to tough it out somehow, or like you wouldn't be good enough if you had to be transferred or something like that. Like those thoughts were not in my head. I was in the middle of just like doing a bunch of work.
Oh yeah.
And
well, you're busy. You're very busy when you're in labor. Clearly.
Yeah. And I trusted the midwife team and my doula, and I was like, if you guys tell me we need to transfer, I'll transfer. If you guys tell me that I'm staying here, I'm staying here. But there was nothing in my mind at the time of like, I want the trophy or whatever, like I was just like, let's just get this baby out in the best way possible.
Let's just do it safely.
Yeah.
I will say that when I was pushing and they told me, can you do this for 15 more minutes?
Mm-hmm.
I felt awful. I felt like I gave up. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what scarred me the worst. And I said it to my mom afterwards. She asked me, because it was kind of a rushed thing, and my mom wasn't there for the labor and like the actual pushing. So when I told her basically the story of it later, I told her that I just felt so guilty. I just felt so incredibly guilty that I gave up on my son and he wasn't even here yet. And it was like heartbreaking to me to even think about it again, that I know I made the best choice for him in the end. Why did I put so much pressure and guilt on myself in the moment? How sad.
Yeah.
And I don't want that for any mother. So when I hear people say, oh, I might have to have a C-section, or, they told me that my baby's breech, and what do I do? How do I get my baby not breech?
Mm-hmm.
And I understand that the most ideal situation would be obviously for your body to run its course and it do exactly what it's supposed to do from A to Z. But if you have to have a C-section in there, don't feel guilty about that. Don't feel like yours is different because you had to have some sort of intervention. I don't know how to explain it any better than to just say that was your hand. That's how you were supposed to do it.
I mean, don't you think that in some way it's like, I don't think that you gave up on your son at all. I feel like you stepped up, you stepped up and you removed your ego, I guess, like from the equation, and you made the really, really hard choice in a split second under a lot of pressure that was the best choice for your son. So like, if anything, like that was like your first big decision
of myself
as a mother
for my kid. Yeah, absolutely. And it's because I think that those feelings were because, I mean, once you're pregnant, you're already a mother, but I don't know how you feel about this. So once you have your baby in your arms, you're a different kind of mother than when you had a baby in your belly, to me.
Yeah.
So my thought process before I had my child in my arms was that I'm guilty, I'm giving up, I'm not doing the right thing for him. And then once I had him, and once I went through the whole thing, and after, my perspective afterwards was, like you just said, that I couldn't have made a better choice, and I couldn't have made a more selfless choice than to basically sacrifice my body so that he's better, so that he can live.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful, and it's sad, and it's heartbreaking, and it's hard to do those things, but those are the choices that you have to make when you're a mom.
Yeah, it's the mama intuition, that like that gut instinct. I have a friend who is trying to conceive or wanting to try to conceive and not really sure if this is the road she wants to go down. And I was like, listen, there's this like intuition that comes up as a mom, and it gets really louder, I think, once the baby is actually here. But it's also there during your pregnancy, and I think it's actually there even beforehand. Like, what if the little voice that's inside her head that's calling her to explore like the process of trying to conceive and everything, like what if that's also your mama instinct, just
I
the
agree.
little beginning of it,
It's a little seed.
Yeah. And
you
start
I totally agree with you. Yeah.
practicing listening to it.
Yeah. And once you are a mother, it never goes away. So once you have that little seed, it will never go away.
So then how did you feel about Haley's birth and the cesarean experience going into it now, like being able to plan for it versus it being something that was like a last minute decision?
It was really weird. It was weird. I mean, until you wake up and you go, I'm going to come home today with the baby. Yeah. It's really odd. Yeah. It's not like you went grocery shopping, it's not like that type of decision, but it was nice. And I feel really at peace with it. And it was fast, in the respect of that, like the actual process was fast. I went in, I checked in, they gave me a little wristband. It's like, they tell you, sit here, we're going to listen to monitor baby's heart for a little while, and then we're going to wheel you in, and here we go. Yeah. And it was very planned. Yeah. Very planned. And there's some security in that, I think. So I felt calm because of that security. But I think that was only because the contrast of my first birth was so chaotic that this nice, calm, very scheduled process was really nice for me. And another thing is that my husband had to sit there and basically watch me and watch the whole process unfold for the first time, which was over 30 hours. And it was very traumatic for him. I think so. This time when we had discussed whether we were going to try for a VBAC or go plan for a cesarean, I took into account that that's a lot of trauma for a daddy too. That's a lot of trauma. And I didn't want to put him through that. And it was unnecessary for me to stress about it. It was just the right decision this time for everybody. Yeah.
And how has your recovery been?
It has been way better this time than last time. And I think it had to do with all the pushing because, yours was, your pushing and your experience, I know, was less than awesome. And for weeks afterwards, I was sore. I could tell that I had a lot of trauma on my body from all of that contracting and all of the hands and all of the pulling. And I hemorrhaged afterwards. I had to have like some crazy shot in my arm because of hemorrhaging, and it was horrible. So not only was I actually healing, like, because they cut me open and I was now stitched closed, I was healing that way, but the first time around, my body felt like I got run over. And the second time, I was very sore from the incision and I had to baby it and be careful, but my body wasn't as sore. So I could get up out of bed gingerly. I could hold the Haley. Oh, when I had Logan, I was stuck in my bed for over 24 hours. So he was in the NICU getting formula fed by my husband, and I was stuck in my bed because I couldn't move. They tried to get me up and out of my bed and into a wheelchair, and I literally couldn't move. Yeah. And it's just because of all the trauma. Right. It was just a really, really traumatic experience, and emotionally and physically. And so this time, having Haley never leave my side, I think that helped a lot too.
Yeah. So, what's the role that street parking has played in your birth with Haley and your recovery with Haley? Yeah, how's that
I
been?
think my favorite part of street parking is the community. I know we say this over and over, and everybody says it to basically exhaustion and to nauseam. I'm sure most people are like, "Oh my God, I can't." I've heard it, But really, it's the community, because even though I am not as active in the workouts currently, I mean, I do some shift, I do some maintenance, things like that right now, but I don't care about the whiteboard, and I don't post my videos, and basically, I'm not as active. But the community keeps me motivated. Going on and seeing the people that I see all the time, and seeing them post and seeing them keep up on it, it keeps me motivated. And it's not even just to stay active and like move and lift and get cardio, but like, for instance, Jay Yerba, he's up at 3:30 every single morning, and he does it because he likes it. And I'm like, I'm up at 3:30 every morning too,
Yep.
And so it just makes, I just feel connected to more than just sitting in my house, where when I had Logan, I felt kind of alone and I didn't really have anybody to connect with. And now with this community, I have that. And also I have a little bit of motivation that, like, now we're going to do the choose your own adventure, which I'm wondering if I'm going to do the bro session because I just like that kind of workout, or if I'm going to do the endurance, because both, I could use both at this point.
Yeah.
And that keeps me motivated. And then with Molly and seeing her posts and her recipes, they're super simple and they're easy and they're good.
She makes
so
it
that
so
helps.
easy for us to like
Absolutely.
help ourselves, for sure.
Yeah. And then another thing is that this community is full of mothers, not just the Mamas group, but even the street parking.
Yeah.
And they're not just recent mothers. It's like some mothers are 60 years old.
Right.
Some mothers are 20 years old. It's just, we have this huge range.
Yeah.
And it's just nice. It's just nice to have a huge group of people that get it.
Totally. Yeah. Okay, so what advice would you give to someone? This will be two parts. What advice would you give to someone who has just gone through an emergency C-section, in terms of like anything really? And then what would you give to someone who is going in for like a planned C-section?
An emergency C-section. Advice for them, like coming out of it or going straight into it?
No, coming out of it, like,
coming out of it.
Yeah, you've seen the posts where it's like, I went in and then things changed and had to have a C-section.
Yeah.
Here I am, so that kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay. So usually when people are talking about that, they're, like we said earlier, they're very concerned that now their recovery is going to be extensively longer than they had originally planned. So there's a lot of disappointment, I think, when you go in for a C-section. And it surrounds all that stuff that we have already talked about. I think I would say to that person that you just did the most athletic thing you could possibly do. And just like just like anything else that's a really big feat of athleticism, you're going to have to recover from that. Everybody does. And you're going to come out with more of an appreciation for your body, I think. So lean on that. And I would also tell them that snuggling your baby is the best medicine. is, it's going to help you in so many ways. It's going to help you recover, I think, emotionally. It's going to help your physical. I just think that joy and serotonin and like happiness and things, they translate into chemical reactions in your body. I know this is kind of woo-woo, but they translate, and it keeps you alive, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
So snuggle your baby and snuggle your husband or your partner or whoever it is that is your support system, and breathe in this beautiful, messy, uncomfortable time, because it's like no other. And it's fast. It's really fast.
Yeah.
And also, you're going to forget about all the dark things that you wish were gone. You're going to forget about that. And then you'll be left with this beautiful little trophy that you brought home. So it's okay.
Yeah.
And for a mother who's going in for a planned C-section.
Yeah, like what would be like helpful things to have ready or to know in advance if that is the route that you know you're going to go down?
Well, my planned one was my second one. So like all the things at home were, I mean, I'm not a veteran. I'm only a 3-year-old mom, so I wouldn't call myself a veteran. But you know what's going on. You know the things you need in your house. So that's kind of, you have your registry, you have your mamas around you to help you with that. But specifically for the C-section, the thing that comes to my mind is wear your binder. They give you this thing, and I wore it religiously with Logan, and I wore it probably longer than I needed to wear it, but it was like emotional support. It's like physical tightening that you put around yourself, and it's like a hug. So it really made me feel better. And then I wore it again with Haley, and I really liked the stability that it gave me. So I would say wear that. Okay. Now that knowing that your emotional state when you plan it is going to be different than if you had a C-section emergency. I think that kind of is, I don't know, you kind of need help with like the more physical stuff than the more emotional, because you've already kind of put that part to bed, I think. I don't know. I think the same thing. I would tell the same thing. Snuggle your baby. This is a short period in your time, in your life. Snuggle your baby. Smell your baby. Hold your baby and not your phone. Like, social media is so wonderful, but at the same time, it could be really disheartening. If you're going to use social media, find a tribe on social media that doesn't make you feel like you need to be back in 6 weeks.
Right.
Because you don't need to.
Yeah. Awesome.
And that's all I'll say about that.
Okay. Awesome. Okay. Is there anything else that you want to add or share as a veteran?
I know. 3-year-old who's veteran mom.
Yeah.
It's fast.
Yeah.
It's really fast. And it seems silly, and everywhere I go, all of the mothers around me say, enjoy your baby. It goes by so fast. And you hear it so often that you kind of just go like, yeah, okay, I know, yeah, okay. But it really does. And lately, I was going to post about this, so I'll tell you now. When I had Logan, my milk was just like everywhere. I had so much milk. I didn't know what to do with how much milk I had. And it was like painful. I had that much milk.
Yeah.
So the second time around with Haley, I had a little bit more trouble with my milk. And I think maybe it was because I attested to that I didn't go into labor. So that was the only difference, is that maybe it had something to do with chemically. However, I stopped browsing the internet or checking my Facebook or checking my Instagram or blah, blah, all this stuff while I was feeding Haley.
Yep.
And I literally sat there and smelled her head and touched her arms and caressed her little ear or touched her fingers and really was present in the moment of breastfeeding. And I'll tell you why, because I listened to your husband's podcast about being intentional.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
I literally changed his, I think it was I think he says, be intentional.
Yeah.
This week, be intentional. And I did. I said, I'm going to breastfeed her with intention.
Yeah.
And my milk supply doubled.
Wow.
And I didn't change one single other thing.
You know what? That's crazy because I think it was you that when I talked about how I was struggling with supply, you were like, look at pictures, listen to your baby, like, what did you say? You said something, I think maybe about like breathing and
Smell her.
relaxing. And I started off with like imagining, this is going to sound crazy, but I started off with imagining all of the most beautiful waterfalls that I've ever been to in the world.
Yeah.
And then I found myself going back to just like thinking of, this is when I was like pumping and going back to like looking at pictures of her, of videos of her, of just closing my eyes and like picturing her little face and all of her little sounds and everything. And that helped so much. So much.
And it's bringing it back to what Jeb said. You have to be intentional about it. And I think that's probably a good way to answer those questions about the C-section too. Just be intentional about how you want to do it. Yeah. Be present for the whole thing, no matter if it's not what you planned or what you planned.
Yeah.
Because this is reality and you're in it, baby.
This is it.
So just do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was such good advice to be intentional. And I mean, he wasn't even talking about milk supply, but it helped. It worked.
Yeah.
And I think that going back to that, your chemistry is all connected to all of this stuff. So, sit and smell your baby a little bit more. I think everything goes better when you just really be present in it.
Yeah, totally. I love that. When you're doing things with purpose, like on purpose, even if it wasn't the thing that you planned, or the way that you planned. Okay, I think that's it.
That was awesome.
Thank you. No, thank you. I really wanted to get your stories in here and your perspective because you always just have such a positive, like, patient approach. I think that's how it comes across, at least on social media. Speaking of social media, can we share your name, your Instagram? How can we find you if we want to follow you?
Yeah, sure. I mean, on Facebook, I'm just Meg P. So if you want to follow me there, I don't post much on Facebook. I'm mostly just there for the street parking and the mamas and things like that. But on Instagram, I'm Chic Bean. It's CHICBEAN, and that's just my like regular Instagram.
Cool.
You'll see my mom life. I mean, you'll see my messy house and my loud kids, and that's about it.
I love it. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, and I can't wait to see you on the moms group.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm sure it'll be later today.
Yeah. All right. Bye, Meg.
Bye.